What's up, everybody? It's your boy. I did a weird thing to my facial hair after a recommendation from a friend that it was time to shave, and I don't know, I think it might be a little too, young, trying to be hot comedian that doesn't have any real material for a special, but does really well on TikTok posting crowd work videos because he looks like an actor and 14-year-old girls think he's hot, but they can't buy tickets to an adult stand-up show, so he continues to do really well on social media, but he can't sell out any real venues because he doesn't understand what's causing this weird juxtaposition in his apparent fan base, for my taste, but I think I will like it. I just hope that my mustache grows in a little bit. I don't know. We'll get there. AKA Reed from Shameless Nerd. Today's video is about movies. If you would like to support the channel, the best way you could do that is to click the subscribe button and then of course like this video. Again, if you're new around here, I do always say this in the beginning of the video because it makes a big difference, which is why big YouTube channels constantly interrupt the video to beg you to like and subscribe, but I don't want to do that, so you can always skip to the minute and a half mark or so if you just hate it and you hate that I do this, but if you'd be so kind just to hit the like button right now, that would be great. All right, let's get into it. My last video about AI was a little controversial. It drew some very interesting comments, and in being a little controversial, I was reminded of two big things. A, nuance in conversations regarding complex topics is what makes discussing them fun and valuable, and I think everyone could probably stand to prioritize living in the gray a little bit more. And B, boy was I reminded that there are some strange people on the internet. And that's great, you know, it was fun to read some truly weird comments for a change. The Shameless Nerd comment section is usually so wholesome and sweet, and you guys are so nice and supportive. It was good to be reminded, as I'm still pretty new on YouTube, that there are just as many flat earth, Elon Musk suckling little basement dwelling forest gremlins here as there are on Twitter. I say all this to say, we're gonna get controversial again today, but in a very different way. Whereas the last video discussed something very current and in the zeitgeist right now and central to the current societal discourse at large or whatever, today's video was actually inspired initially by 2016's The Angry Birds movie, something that I don't think could possibly be further from the cultural zeitgeist of 2025. You see, The Angry Birds movie was simply the final straw, and I cannot take it anymore. I must share this with the world, and I must spend the next 20 minutes shitting on all your favorite movies. Let's get controversial. What I'm going to talk about in this video will forever change how you see many of the movies you know and love, as well as how you view many of the movies you watch moving forward. It is something that is extremely common, something that bothers me deeply, and something that will become one of those, oh man, now I can't unsee it kind of things. So, first of all, I love analyzing and overthinking animated movies. I have always done this. I am an English teacher, I am a literature nerd, I am a big-time crier, especially ever since my son was born. I will cry at anything, I think. I cried watching the post-game press conferences after the women's basketball national championship game. I cried listening to the second verse in a song called White Woman's Instagram. I am the authority to speak on this because I exist as a perfect storm, a chemical concoction seemingly designed for the sole purpose of bitching about a hyper-specific issue with archetypical thematic ideas in children's movies. There are 5 main reasons for this, which I'll go over real quick to kind of establish myself as a credible source, and then we'll start. First of all, I do have a bachelor's degree in English and a master's degree in secondary education in literature. Number 2, I have written multiple published literary criticism essays on thematic concepts in various pieces of literature, notably Huckleberry Finn, Scarlet Letter, my personal favorite, a feminist reclamation of the thematic conclusion in Charlotte Gilman's Yellow Wallpaper. I've written a 5-page critique of Roger Ebert's review of WALL-E. Number 3, I am a drug addict of the highest order for nostalgia. My room is decorated with Pokemon stuff. I wake up 6 days a week with SpongeBob songs stuck in my head. A stove is a stove, no matter where you go. A patty is a patty, that's what I say. Number 4, I have a 3-year-old son. I care about these movies because I care about what he watches, because I care about what he learns from what he watches. Full disclosure, to me, the most important thing as a parent is not that my son grows up to be high achieving or successful, it's that he grows up to be 2 things, creative and kind. I think carefully about a lot of animated kids movies for this reason. And number 5, I do believe deeply in the power of art. This video is about to get very self-indulgent in how seriously I'm about to talk about a movie based on a 99-cent iPhone game, and I'm being a little facetious in doing so, obviously because it's funny to do this, and obviously these are silly movies kids will watch and forget because they have poop in their pants when they see them. But Also, I do simultaneously believe in the transformative and guiding hand of the media we consume throughout our lives, and how that shapes us, and how important that can be. Okay, so why am I 900 words into a script about Angry Birds? Well, let's do a little summary of the movie, and then I can explain what I'm talking about here.
Story time!
In the Angry Birds movie, Red is a bird. None of the birds can fly. They are all very happy and normal and the same and just cute little flightless birds being cute. Except for our protagonist, Red. You see, Red is different. He's not like the other birds, okay? He gets mad all the time. The other birds are happy, he's mad, you get it, Angry Birds. The movie opens with Red trying frantically to get to a party. He gets there late and kind of messes everything up. He gets mad and he cracks the family's egg by accident, which is of course bad because they're birds. That's like killing their child. Then Red gets put on trial, actually, and he loses the trial because he gets mad and he tears the clothes off the judge, who's actually one small owl on top of another bird doing the whole like 3 kids in a trench coat thing, which I do think is actually pretty funny. And he gets sentenced to anger management classes. Basically, what's important is that we've established beyond any doubt that most inhabitants of this island, everyone in this society, is very similar, and our protagonist is very different, unique, stands out. This is an extremely common trope in literature, one that I'm sure you can already start recognizing in your favorite books, movies, TV shows, etc. Everyone is the same, but this one character is different, and that's not what bothers me. Okay, so Red meets 2 other weird guys in the anger management classes, and then evil pigs show up who are obviously up to no good. I mean, they're green for Christ's sake, the Grinch, Shrek, Plankton, the Wicked Witch. Every green character in the movie is bad at first, at least. Red can see through the pig's bullshit, but nobody believes him. So he and his 2 obviously eventual friends, but 2 guys he doesn't appreciate yet, which is another very common trope in a movie, go on a big journey to save the day and defeat the pigs. They exhibit heroism. They call out the giant hero eagle for being a sadomasochistic peeping Tom. They finally get some evidence that the pigs are actually bad, and they are able to convince the town that they were right. But it's too late. The pigs have stolen the eggs and left on a boat. And the birds are screwed because they're too nice and happy. They don't know how to handle being done so wrong by the pigs because everyone on their island is nice and has no emotional complexity. But not Red, right? Red inspires everyone to work together and build a boat and track down the pigs. And do you know how he does it? By telling them they need to get mad. He says that anger is natural and good, and the pigs did something bad to them, and they have the right to be angry about it. So they do. They work together, they build a boat, and they go to the pigs' island. And when they get there, they realize that the castle is too far away from the cliff. So Red decides they're going to get there by flying. These flightless birds are going to jump into a giant slingshot and in the climactic scene, fling themselves at the castle using their unique characteristics to aid in their destruction of the pigs' defenses. Matilda, for example, can shoot bombs out of her butt, so she does that, and it's awesome. Hal is a boomerang, so he kind of just goes and he almost gets to the castle, but then he flies back and just sticks in a tree, and they're like, oh, thanks, Hal. Bubbles can expand in size, so he goes and blows up a bunch of the pigs' defenses, and it's dope. And then Red uses his smarts to ricochet off some boulder into the castle. Bomb and Chuck, the 2 begrudging friends that I talked about, follow, and then Terrence, who's big and strong, breaks the slingshot. So it's up to the 3 friends. Chuck is super fast, so he uses that to do some cool, like, slow motion ninja stuff. Bomb is a bomb, so he blows up some planes. Everyone uses their uniqueness to the team's benefit, and Red's able to get the eggs back with the help of the eagle. They put up a statue of Eagle and Red, and the townsfolk indirectly apologize to Red and rebuild his house that they destroyed, and everyone lives happily ever after. The end. Hooray for capitalizing off of another existing IP instead of creating new movie ideas. But what do we learn, right? What is the theme? We learn that in a world where everyone is the same, even if they tell you you should fall in line, you should be like them, even if you're punished and ostracized for not being the same and doing what everyone else does, it's okay to be different. As long as what makes you different is a superpower that saves everyone's ass. It's actually super not okay to be different if that difference doesn't provide value directly to all of the people who just tried to shun you for being different. Hal, right? Hal is different. He's a boomerang. That's really cool, but that doesn't help anybody. The movie just plays him being stuck in the tree for laughs. Terrence, he's different. He's huge, and he doesn't talk, and he's super strong. That doesn't help anyone. He actually breaks the slingshot and almost screws everyone over, and they spend the entire movie playing how big and silent and weird Terrence is for laughs, culminating in Terrence being the butt of the joke and the comedic relief for the final scene of the movie. And there are a whole bunch of birds, actually the vast majority of the birds in the society, who are still just happy-go-lucky little flightless birds who don't say anything or do anything, and they're the ones who the whole premise of the movie serves to protect. Red is the hero because he uses his weirdness to save all the eggs for the normal birds. The bird society functions by and for the normal birds, and it is through Red and Bomb and Chuck's weirdness that the normal birds are placed even higher on a pedestal. Red achieves token status. He is Sammy Davis Jr., right? They let him play with the white musicians even though he's black because he's playing their game. He's Jesse Owens. They let him run at the Olympics because he's so much more remarkable and different that they grant him an exception. Red and Chuck and Bomb, but mostly Red, almost die multiple times so the implicitly much more important normal birds can get their eggs back. And because of Red's sacrifice to them, he is conditionally accepted into their society. The implied moral of this movie is not the ostensible, it's okay to be different. It's actually the opposite. This movie says existence is an oligarchical meritocracy with an extremely high barrier to entry. If and only if what makes you different is the fact that your difference is actually a superpower, and you use that superpower to benefit us, and you readily accept that you are different, that we are categorically dissimilar, and that's why you have to atone for your sin of being different to gain entry into the normal club, then we will offer you a densely conditional, temporary acceptance into the fringes of our society, so long as you're okay with us still considering you otherworldly and weird. This is the Angry Birds movie. In this messaging, we place a pressure on the viewer to then figure out the ways in which the things that make them different are actually what make them good enough and worthy of gaining admission to the normal club, rather than what I think/hope is the intended messaging, which should be that the things that make us different are the things that make us different, and that we all have value regardless. In a perfect retelling of the Angry Birds movie, Red would realize that the fact that he has access to an emotional complexity no one else can access means nothing to the townsfolk. That would be unrelated to the method by which he saves the day, and also saving the day wouldn't be returning the eggs to the ruling class normal birds. It would be something that gives Red stakes as well. He wouldn't be doing a hero's errand on their behalf. Something would have to happen to cause the other birds to realize that Red is worthy of acceptance not because of his difference, nor in spite of his difference, but separately, because all are worthy of acceptance and understanding. And then, after understanding that differences are inevitabilities of existence and not everyone's secret little superpower, Red could be the leader if you want, and that's fine, who cares, using everybody's strengths, and importantly, planning around their weaknesses to defeat the pigs and save the day. We shouldn't endeavor to teach everyone that they are special because they're different, nor should we endeavor to teach everyone that the things that make them different are actually super awesome hidden abilities. Some differences are strengths and some are weaknesses. The fact that my anxiety urges me to check my heart rate 50 times a day and I constantly have to fight it isn't a superpower. I shouldn't be trying to figure out how to be thankful for that. We don't need our kids to grow up thinking they're important because they're different and they should be proud of how different they are, nor should they be ashamed of how different they are. They should grow up thinking that all human lives are valuable and differences are a simultaneously beautiful and tragic inevitability of humanity. Now, am I nitpicking a little bit? Absolutely. Am I asking a lot of a kids movie based on a phone game where you catapult triangle-shaped birds at conveniently precarious buildings occupied by green pigs? Probably. Am I completely 100% serious? Yeah, actually. Like, I get that this is a very niche gripe and one that's super specific and self-serious and a little silly in the grand scheme of things, but I do believe that it is important still, and I do believe that it is everywhere once you start looking for it. Hold on to your seats. The Emoji Movie, the malfunctioning emoji that gets kicked out and goes on a hero's quest to reprogram himself, only to discover that his malfunction was actually what makes him cool all along. Coco, he's obsessed with music in a family that hates music, but after literally robbing a grave for a guitar, he realizes that he's actually the most talented musician ever, and he saves his entire family lineage, even members of his family that are already dead, learning that music was the very thing that gave him purpose. Onward, nerdy outcast kid who just desperately wants to fit in and avoid his annoying Dungeons & Dragons Jack Black ass older brother, but actually doesn't fit in because he's secretly the only one left who can actually use magic. This one, he's literally a wizard. Speaking of wizards, Harry Potter, anyone? There's one for sure. He's literally the boy who lived, the chosen one. How about The Incredibles? That's literally explicitly a debate that the parents have in front of their kids in the movie, which I think is actually really cool, about whether their outcast children who literally have superpowers should be allowed to participate in school sports or if they should continue trying to hide their powers and fit in. Smallfoot, first of all, Zendaya is Michi, LeBron James is Gwangi. But also, the main character is the only one who wants to pursue connection with the new world and with humans, and he isn't accepted until he literally returns to the village with a human and saves them from themselves. Turning red. Everyone has a period. It's okay. It's totally normal. Also, this totally normal kids period actually turns her into a super cool giant red panda who the girls use to make enough money to buy tickets to the concert that they want to go to against their parents' wishes. But it's okay to be different. Kung Fu Panda. He's silly and lazy and fat. But that's actually what makes him the super badass dragon warrior. Luca, they're sea monsters, and we should accept them even though they're different. Because secretly, most of us actually are sea monsters also anyway. And also, they just won the annual competition that the whole town is invested in and wants desperately to be won by anyone but the guy who's won the last 5. Happy Feet. Let me just read the last paragraph of the IMDb synopsis because also it's insane. Memphis begs Mumble to stop dancing for his own sake, but when Mumble refuses, he's banished. After escaping, Mumble exhaustingly pursues it alone, eventually washing up on the shores of Florida, where he is rescued and kept at SeaWorld with Magellanic penguins. After a long and secluded refinement, in addition to fruitlessly trying to communicate with humans, he nearly succumbs to madness. When a girl attempts to interact with Mumble by tapping the glass, he starts dancing, which attracts a large crowd. Because of this, he is released back into the wild with a tracking device attached to his back. He returns to his colony and challenges the will of the elders. Memphis reconciles with him just as a research team arrives, verifying Mumble's statements of aliens existing. The entire colony engages in dance in front of the research team, whose expedition footage prompts a worldwide debate, which eventually leads to the banning of all Antarctic overfishing, satisfying both the Emperor penguins and the Amigos. A Bug's Life. Yeah, Flick is definitely the earliest example of a truly modern neurodivergent train enthusiast in a kid's movie, and for my money, that's pretty cool. But also, his tinkering is actually what saves the colony from the grasshoppers. Interesting. Cars. Yeah, I'll accept these Radiator Springs weirdos. As soon as I realize that the hot one wants to date me, the cop's actually secretly been my idol all along, the redneck can teach me something valuable, the Italians want to give me new tires, Ramon wants to give me a free paint job, and they're all willing to come work for me for free. Encanto, I mean, come on. Mulan, she's really different. In fact, she's just so different it might save the world. Shrek, Zootopia, Big Hero 6, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Moana. When you start looking for this concept, you will see it all over the place. I'd actually love it if you can think of any other examples that I haven't listed. You can put them in the comments. I'd love to read more. I just kind of collect them at this point because I think it's interesting. Anyway, in closing, I understand that a lot of these movies are well-intentioned, and some of them are great movies, like the Emoji Movie, for example. And I'm not actually dismissing any movie with this problem in it. I'm just pointing it out as something that I find interesting and an unintended misstep in a pursuit of what seems like a pretty obviously positive message. Part of this also is that I would love to see more kids' films go for a different message. This one is so played out. There are plenty of awesome movies that achieve meaning and moral application to reality by doing something different and so much more interesting and complex than It's Okay to Be Different. Also, I don't think the movies are working. Have you seen the news lately? Movies like WALL-E, okay, Up, Inside Out, Toy Story, Despicable Me, or classics like E.T., Spirited Away, or maybe my favorite kids movie of all time when you read for theme, Emperor's New Groove. These movies all address themes and ideas that are just as important as the one discussed in this video. And also, what if a kid's movie didn't teach a lesson? What if it was just fun? What if a kid got to enjoy a movie that wasn't beating her over the head with the moral of the story the whole time? What if we taught our kids that storytelling is inherently valuable? Is it possible that this horrible era of cinema that we're living through could be partially due to a degradation due to generations of writers and directors growing up learning that the story wasn't what's important anymore? Just something to think about. Thank you for watching. See you next time.